What's up, guys? Welcome to another Hearthstone guide. In this guide, we are going to be covering the Warlock, probably one of my favorite classes in all of Hearthstone. And so what I want to do is, as always, I'm going to introduce Kenny and Aki. Guys, what's going on?
How's it going?
What's up, Nash?
Oh, not much, dude. I'm excited about this class. This is by far one of my favorite classes. There's just so many different ways that you can play this class. Is I think the reason I like it. But as always, guys, before I turn it over to these two, I'm going to go over the hero power and the legendary card. The legendary card is Lord Jiraxxus, which is the most overpowered card in the game. No, I'm just kidding. It's really, really good, though. So you can replace your hero, and you get 15 life, and he does 3 attack, but then his hero power is, it summons, was a 6/6 Doomguard? Or is it
yeah, 6/6 Doomguard.
6/6 Infernal.
6/6 Inferno. Yeah, for 2 mana. So yeah, that's overpowered, but
that's a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing. that happens. And then the other really cool thing is they have probably one of my favorite hero powers as well, is the life tap. So it costs you 2 life off of your hero, but you get free card draw. Like, well, not free obviously, but you get a card draw for 2 life, which especially early game and late game can be extremely beneficial to get those cards into your hand as quick as possible. But to turn it over to some of the strengths, let's start with Aki, because I know Aki's played this class really, really hard since it came out. Aki, what are some of the really cool things about Warlock, some of the strengths?
So, at the moment, I think the most obvious thing that comes to probably most people's mind when you think Warlock is just unstoppable aggression. Just the ability to play such strong minions for such a cheap cost, and then you add in things to sort of supplement that. So you add in things like Argent Squires, which are 1/1 with a bubble. For example, Flame Imps to deal a 3/2 for 1 mana. It's just crazy. So you can get a lot of aggression. And then with the recent changes to the class, they had a couple of changes where their Blood Imps sort of toned it down a little bit. So they basically act like a stealth young priestess. So at the end of the turn, the Blood Imp now gives a random friendly minion +1 health instead of giving everything across the board just 1 health. So it's definitely a nerf. But if you don't sort of get those things under control, they can get a bit out of hand. So I just finished a game where I had 2 of those and 2 priestesses going, and I had minions with like my knife juggler had 6 health and stuff like that. So you can get a bit crazy with it. And then things, you just play a bunch of small minions. That ability to always draw every turn, as long as you have 2 mana and 2 health, just makes it really strong because you can always have a card advantage, being able to draw every turn. So, what's some other strengths? Good amount of spells. They have a really nice mix between minions and spells. So if you want to go sort of like control deck, you can add in things like Drain Life, Shadow Bolt, Demon Fires, Siphon Souls, Hellfire, Shadow Flames, things like that that'll help you sort of control the board. Whereas a lot of classes don't really have sort of stuff like that. So, but I think just all-out aggression with them and being able to draw is their biggest strength by far. So.
Okay, and then Aki, what are some, or not Aki, sorry, Kenny, what are some of the nerfs that we've seen, or some of maybe the weaknesses that we've seen to the class?
Well, as Aki said, the Blood Imp had recently been nerfed to only apply 1 health to a random friendly minion every turn, instead of adding +1 health across the board 1 time as kind of an aura.
Right.
And that's both a nerf and kind of a change that some people are going to have to get used to, but it's still quite a strong card.
Yeah.
I think that some of the biggest drawbacks of the Warlock deck, though, are that a lot of the cards have penalties to them. When you play something like a Felguard, which is a 3-cost 3/5 minion with taunt, upon summoning it, you destroy one of your own mana crystals just to be able to get that beefy, turn 3 or 3-cost taunt out there. The Succubus is a 2-cost 4/3 minion, which is insane for turn 2, but to play it, you have to discard a random card, which, if you're trying to play that on turn 2, that random card could be, you know, a Shadow Bolt that you're sitting for minion removal, or it could be your Voidwalker that you're looking to play next turn for a taunt. And, you know, the negative side of some of these cards can really add up, especially the ones that cost health to play.
Right.
You know, your Flame Imp costing 3 of your own health to play, or the Pit Lord costing 5 health to play on summon. You know, that adds up really quick, especially when you're taking 2 of your own health every turn to try and, you know, keep card control. So that's probably one of the biggest drawbacks I think I've seen with a Warlock, is that, you know, if you get yourself too low, you're susceptible to quick card combos. You know, Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt for a quick 7/8 damage from, you know, Frost Bolts and things like that. So you have to be very careful sometimes when you're playing a Warlock.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I'm going to cover just real quick Twisting Nether, because that is a really interesting card. Complete board destruction. That card, I've seen that card used so many times against, you know, like rush decks or anything like that. Think of it as Brawl, but you don't get a minion back. Like, it just kills everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful, especially, and again, we were actually laughing about this before we recorded this, is last night in the weekly Hearthstone tournament that these two guys put on, I actually got just destroyed by a Warlock deck in the finals. I mean, it wasn't even close. Like, I thought I was in control, and the next thing you know, I was just toast. Some crazy damage output, some really crazy builds have been being made with these guys. And I honestly, what I was really surprised about is I haven't seen a whole lot of decks using things like Summoning Portal, which I know used to be a really good card, and then people have really kind of gone away from it now. I don't really see much Void Terror anymore. I don't see many Sense Demons anymore. At least in the metagame and the decks that I've faced, it's been a really different Warlock deck than we saw pre-nerf, I think. And like Aki had touched on, it's a lot of rush deck, a lot of aggro deck, but...
Yeah. And a cool thing you can do with the Void Terror is, say if you're playing a Sylvanas in your deck, and you have the Sylvanas down, and then your opponent plays a minion, you can hit their face with Sylvanas, then you drop the Void Terror, which will destroy the Sylvanas, and it will take control of the enemy minion, and then your Void Terror then becomes a 8/8 for 3. So, keep that in mind if you've got a Sylvanas. That's a really nice combo.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Void Terror,
disgusting.
Sylvanas. It's a pretty sick combo.
I didn't even think of that. That's broken.
That, or if you're on turn 8 and say you go against, like just for example a Druid with their Iron Bark Protector, and it's your turn, you can play that combo and you could destroy that Sylvanas straight away, end up with the 8/8 taunt with the 8/8 Void Terror. So when you think about it, it's a pretty sick combo.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I actually didn't think about that. That is disgusting.
Yeah. That's very cool.
That makes sense. But yeah, so getting into the decks a little bit. I know I tried to touch on it a little bit, but is there, Aki, I know you play a lot of this class. Is there any specific decks? You covered it a little bit in the strengths, but is there any, really things to watch out for?
Yeah, there's just sort of 2 main Warlock decks at the moment that are both are pretty much considered some of the best decks in the world at the moment. There's the aggro deck, which just is all about playing minions, utilizing things like the Young Priestess to blood imp, the cheap minions to go along with, say, like the Knife Juggler. I've actually just added in the Imp Master, because I think that's a pretty sick combo with the Knife Juggler. You play it, and then every turn it summons a minion, so you're always going to get that proc off the Knife Juggler. But then there's also the very strong deck, which I think is what you went up against in
the Frost
final,
Giant.
which is, it's the Giant Control deck. So you play good minions such as Harvest Golem, just those sort of standard things, and you have things like the Giants in there. And then you play a lot of sort of those control-y spells. So you have things like, there's different variations, but common things you'll see will be, like 2 Siphon Souls. Maybe see that Twisting Nether, some Shadow Bolts, that sort of thing added in, where it's sort of more of a balance between minions and spells. Whereas the aggro deck focuses on overwhelming your opponent with minions, the control deck sort of focuses more on, well, being really controlly and then just coming out of nowhere and destroying them.
Yeah, which has happened to me time and time again. Yeah. But yeah, guys, it's a really good deck. Besides those two, Kenny, is there anything else that you've noticed with Warlocks or that you've seen that you like to use or anything like that?
Even with the most recent change to the Blood Imp, I still enjoyed playing my Warlock Murloc deck, which, you know, it's a hyper aggro deck, and Murlocs just play so well together. Their design is to be used en masse. You know, you have 2, 3, 4 Murlocs out, and then, you know, you drop the Murloc Legendary Old Merc guy, he gets buffed by all of them. It's very easy to do that in a Warlock deck, mostly because of their draw with their hero power, but also their ability to have their own minions for cheap as well. And, you know, that's just, it's an absolutely insane combo when it works right. I played a game two days ago, I think. I won on turn 5. A full 30 damage on turn 5. And, you know, it's just obscene sometimes. And, yeah, a lot of it is the luck of the card draw there. But, you know, the Murloc deck, I've seen other classes do it. No one does it, I think, as well as the Warlock.
Nah.
No, I don't. I would agree with that, especially with, you know, like you were saying, their combination of low-cost minions. Now, it does tax you, but again, in a hyper-aggro deck, that's the point, is rush as fast as you humanly can. You know, that's the whole idea behind it. And I've actually, speaking of that, I've seen some decks like that, and then they add things in like Drain Life, or that 3-cost card, that 3-cost neutral card that heals you for 3.
Earthen
Ring
Farseer. Yeah, I've seen them used in a lot of just crazy Warlock decks so that they have that hyper aggro, but they don't lose their health. Like, it's insane. I've seen just Warlocks just last longer than I ever imagined because of that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. If you can sort of offset that with a little bit of healing, you can really get a lot of mileage out of it, per se.
But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to cover with Warlocks? I know that there's just a ton of cool stuff to play with on these.
No, just quickly thinking about that Pit Lord or the Void Terror combo there. You imagine late game playing double Molten Giant Void Terror.
Oh.
What? Oh,
you're looking at a 1919 Void Terror.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was just quickly trying to think of what else you could do with that. I'm thinking, you know, you get, you know, down to 10 health. That's when the Molten Giants become free.
And then Shadow Flame it, just to...
Yeah, double to them, and oh, man.
Just to really piss the guy off.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, some cool combinations that you could do with the Warlock. So.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even think about that. Well, dude, you know what's funny about that is you could actually... If they had any taunts up or any creatures, you could just Hellfire after it, and you're still looking at a 1916 and probably complete horde control like, at that point.
Exactly. So, yeah. A lot of fun.
Disgusting.
Alright, guys. Well, anyway, give this class a try, because it's a lot of fun. There's just, you know, just as we've been sitting here thinking about it, there's so many different ways that you can really play this class. And like Aki had touched on before, two of probably the best decks in the world right now are those two decks that both come from the Warlock. So if you want to give either of those a try, or if you want to come up with your own, feel free. Any questions or comments on the class, always you can put them in the comments below. Otherwise, we will see you guys in the next one.